It's Movie Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Wayne Miller.
And this is
It's Movie Time. Award-winning.
Wayne, freezing in summertime? How can that be?
Oh, wow. And claustrophobic?
Oh.
Could you imagine these people riding on that choo-choo for 17 years?
What are you talking about?
Wow. We're talking about Snowpiercers.
Snowpiercer.
I know.
Oh.
Starring the Captain America, Chris Evans.
Yep. And with Tilda Swinton.
Oh, my goodness.
As Margaret Thatcher on steroids.
I like her little medals and everything. Her little gold tooth. Oh, excellent characterization.
It's another post-apocalyptic movie.
Yeah.
This is science fiction set in 2031, and a train on perpetual motion carries the only living human beings.
Yep. Supposedly. Who knows? It could be a sequel and they find somebody living in a cave.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But, I wonder what Al Gore thinks about this. This is, we talk about global warming.
Yes.
And at the beginning of the movie, you hear these little snippets of newscasts talking about, wow, global warming getting really bad. And so they're going to put these chemicals up in the stratosphere, whatever.
Yeah, so you see jet planes blanketing the world with this chemical that's going to reduce the heat to be livable.
Yeah, those planes kind of reminded me of the crop dusters and Hitchcock's North by Northwest, but they're up there, and of course it has the opposite effect.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like, oops, we went a bit too far.
It
and
freezes
everything is snow.
In fact, you're leading up to what I was amused by is that the neoliberals got it wrong, and the conservatives had it right.
But you talk about this. This is a season. In fact, Entertainment Weekly had a great article about all these post-apocalyptic films. Anyhow,
go and do it again.
Entertainment Weekly has an interesting article about all these movies of this kind.
Yes.
After something happens, either zombie apocalypse or vampires, wipe out everything. But my God, it's everything from biblical, types of events.
Yeah.
I was thinking back of that one movie a few years back, 2012. Or the day after tomorrow. Another ice age. Happens. But
that's
then
right.
2012,
That's right. Yeah.
That all of a sudden all these little arcs are floating around.
Right. I'd forgotten that one.
Costner's film a few years back, Waterworld. So these movies, they're rather interesting. We've seen so many of them. Of course, one of the better ones, probably coming out later this summer, is the Mad Max film.
Oh yeah, and this has. You would think a little bit about the Mad Max with this one.
Yeah.
And
they're grubby, they're dirty.
There's a progression. Chris Evans is Curtis, I think. Yeah, Curtis.
Yes.
And he leads the have-nots.
Yes.
To the front of the train, which are the haves.
Right. I wonder if like the Titanic was, kind of like, all of the poor people back in steerage.
And a little bit of Metropolis in all of it.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, these people are downtrodden. They're gray. They've engaged in cannibalism in the back part of the train.
Yes.
And as they move to the front, you get all the swells enjoying themselves in the tropical
drug
climate.
Addicted on some, what was it, industrial waste that's kind of looked like a charcoal from somebody's grill that they rub together, get this thing, and they have a high old time, so to speak.
So they're moving progressively through the train, and some would liken it to a video game.
Yeah.
In which you have different segments, different car representing different places where you've moved ahead.
Yeah.
And they have to face down the thugs of the owner, the big titan.
Right.
And I know some people try to keep it secret as to who that is, but he's right in the credits.
Right. Ed Harris.
Yeah,
he's
great.
The guy. And an old buddy of it looked like a Old Testament prophet in the back of the train, played by John Hurt.
Yes.
With a peg leg, and it seems like they cut off arms and legs, or
Or they stick an arm out the
yeah,
car.
to freeze
Freeze
to
it.
death, and then hit it with a mallet and it shatters, to eliminate the offensive limb.
And as a side note, Hurt's character is named Gilliam, and he's kind of the wise old man
Yeah.
of the group. And this would appear to be a reference to Terry Gilliam, who's had many oddball characters in strange, like Brazil, strange movies and so on. So the people who really know are going to be very excited
Yeah.
about hearing that name and then hearing the conjunction of those things for this movie. And as they move forward, they have to face the lieutenant of Wilford. Wilford is the person, the Ed Harris character,
Right.
who owns everything. They have to face.
Now, they missed a casting opportunity here if they had cast Wilford Brimley. He would have done an excellent job, this down-home old
Wrong.
guy up there. But Harris is kind of a likable character in himself.
Oh, he's underplaying for
Right.
Ed Harris.
Yes.
But he is just as menacing as guy. I think it's a great choice
Yep.
for him.
Yep.
So they do have to face the lieutenant whose name is Mason.
Yes. Yeah.
Played by Tilda Swinton. And we mentioned her earlier, and I want to mention her again. If for nothing else, you need to go to this movie to see how Tilda Swinton can transform herself.
Oh, wow.
Almost you
Excellent
wouldn't know her.
actress. Yes.
And she
Oh.
has an overbite that she can take out.
Oh, yes, I know. There are several memorable set pieces in this film.
Right.
And since you had mentioned about the whole feel of a video game with this, especially the one scene where the thugs turn off the lights and they have night vision
Yes,
goggles.
great scene.
And a very good scene. There are scenes leading up that kept me really going. We've seen so many of these movies. There has to be some interesting set pieces, but also a big payoff at the end to keep my interest in these movies. And I have to tell you, it lost me. They talk about where's a scene that they maybe jump the shark.
Okay.
And it was a scene in the little schoolroom. And
Okay.
the kids singing, and it is so, I think, broadly played for
Yeah.
farce
Yeah.
as they're singing, and even there's a look on close-up of Chris Evans at one time that he's got this look like, what in the heck is
Yeah,
going
one of the only
on
times
here?
he reacts.
Yes,
So-
it's kind of like, what's going on here? And at that moment, and I really liked the movie up to that moment, and then from that to what I considered a disappointing ending, and it kind of lost me.
And the conflict isn't just on the train, because it's also with the distribution. Because
Right.
this is a Harvey Weinstein.
Yes.
And Harvey, of course, has built his own little
Right.
skirmishes
Yeah.
in here. He thought it was way too complex.
Oh,
He wanted 20 minutes cut out, and he hated the ending.
yeah. Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Okay, I hadn't read that.
Right.
Well, the use of the W throughout the movie,
Oh,
the
good.
little
That's
symbol.
right, I
I'm thinking,
forgot
the
that.
Weinstein.
That's a good
yeah,
one.
That would be huh.
But
maybe
anyway, he
Harvey-
lost
Yeah.
that fight.
Yeah.
But where he won was he limited the distribution.
Yes.
Which unfortunately means that there are people who won't see it who are looking for good sci-fi, and I believe this is very good sci-fi, may not get a chance to see it because Harvey is peaked about not getting his way with this movie. And it's a South Korean movie,
Yes,
and
yes.
the director is Jun Ho Bong,
Uh-huh.
who did The Host, among others, and I love The Host.
Yes, and I hadn't seen that, and that's one for several years now. I'd like to see
Yeah,
a South
yeah.
Korean kind of like some parasite out
Yes,
river or whatever.
much simpler than this.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is way
Yeah.
much more complicated than that.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up because here it is summertime, and all these studios will have these tentpole movies, as they call them.
Yes.
Harkening back to, of course, the all-time king of Jaws, and then
Yes.
Star Wars after that. Something released in the summer, mass distribution, gets a lot of play. And this one, you're absolutely right because it's playing at the Gateway, it's playing at the Drexel.
It's played last week,
Yeah.
and it started this week, Wednesday actually, and at the Drex. So it was playing
Okay.
at Gateway first, then at the
Okay.
Drex, but you can feel the limited distribution.
Oh my goodness! Because I called around trying to see, because I was thinking about an AMC theater or
Yeah.
the Marcus up there
Right.
across Woods, or there's like a Movies 10 close to where I live. None of them. They hadn't even when I talked with actually people at the theaters, they hadn't even heard of it. And you're absolutely right. I think this is going to be probably a big flop for the summer. Unfortunately, because even though I was disappointed, like Harvey, you know, close to the end, I still think it's a worthwhile film.
Well, Gateway, I heard, was packed. But there's been a lot of good word of mouth by students and those in the university district who knew this was coming and wanted to see it. And I took some friends to see it, and we were delighted. Notwithstanding the ending, of course, I don't know. There was such a mixed bag of tropes that they were pulling through the whole thing that when you got to the end, I guess I have to agree with you. It's a little bit of a letdown. You expected something pretty grand at the end.
I would have liked to have seen more of the different cars and the different people. You get just a feel for it. I guess in the book, the train was about 1,100 cars long.
Oh, okay.
As they would make their way up there, and that would take a long time. And here it just seemed like, about 3 or 4 cars, boom, 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 they went through, you know.
And you remember in Fritz Lang's Metropolis, we do get a good chunk of time with the haves.
Yes,
and I think that worked very well. And counterbalancing the have-nots, the workers who were marching on that. But we also have to thank Hunger Games for that kind of rebellion stuff that's going on from those classes. Well, Bueno, looks like we had a good turn with this film, but when it gets down to it, let's not freeze it out. Let's try to
I know. And
it's not the Polar Express now.
Well,
so
I wanted to go out and buy a little train set.
I know,
right? And then put it outside in the winter.
Perpetual motion train going around your condo.
Yeah. But I know where we're going.
Okay.
And we need to give it a grade.
Yes.
And I was riding on an A- until near the end, and I gave it a B. Now, Entertainment Weekly, I looked at a lot of the critics really like it. The readers, the EW readers, gave it a B+. I'm going to give it a solid B.
Oh, good. All right. And I have to award it an A- because I am forgiving.
Yeah.
And particularly at this time of year, which has been
you got
really
a bigger heart than me.
A week summer, and I just came off of reviewing Tammy.
So could you imagine Melissa McCarthy in that train? Her and Sandra Bullock would have just kind of like taken it right down.
All right, if you want to cool off,
we've
got a cool movie for you. It's called Snowpiercer.
Yep.
It's science fiction, and it's well worth your time.